All right, what is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Slightly Biased Sports Talks. As always, I'm Milan alongside Bowen, and today we actually have a special guest. We have none other than Skyler Gonzales of the I Got Next podcast. Skyler, you want to introduce yourself?
What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys for having me on. I'm looking forward to the show, man. Let's get into it.
So we're gonna start with the NBA just because game 3 happened, I believe, on Saturday night or Sunday night.
Sunday night after the
Sunday
Euro
night.
final.
And we have a lot more to talk about in terms of the Euro final and the Copa America final. But in terms of the NBA Finals Game 3, Giannis was able to finally steal a game off the Phoenix Suns. Bowen, talk to me about it.
Yeah, Milan. Well, first off, I want to say, Skyler, thanks for coming on to the show, man. Really appreciate having you here, first guest. So it's great to have a guest and really looking forward to our time here. But yeah, Giannis able to steal game. In the notes, Milan, you have him stealing game 3. I'm not so sure about that. That was a pretty dominant performance. But yeah, drops 41 points, 13 rebounds, and a 20-point win. Great performance from him. Would you guys say that Giannis has been the best player on the floor this series?
I think in terms of what teams need, yes. I mean, the game before this, he also put up 40-something points, but obviously Middleton had a bit of a nightmare in game 2. But in terms of what teams need in performances, Giannis being the main scorer of the ball on that Bucks team, I'd say he is in the series so far, but you can't overlook someone like Chris Paul or Devin Booker. Even though he had not too good of a game, you still can't back him on having another 10-game performance. You know what I mean? Or 10-point performance in a game. But I would say so, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Devin Booker, 10 points, 3 of 14 from the floor, 1 of 7 from 3. That was probably the worst game Devin Booker's had in this whole playoff run, right? And on the other hand, that's probably one of Giannis's top 3 games of this playoff run. So obviously, it's difficult to say that this is a steal. I just kind of said it because it was looking to be a sweep in terms of how the Suns have been playing against the Bucks. But Giannis putting up 13 of 17 from the free throw line. We don't really normally see that from Giannis. Giannis is pretty timid from the line. Also 14 from 23 from the floor. I don't know. I'd say that was probably their best chance to get back into the series, and they took it very, very well. And coming into this game 4 in Milwaukee again, I think the series is still wide open.
That's the one thing I will say. They have to win this next game because no team, I guess aside from the Cavs, have come back from a 3-1. And even then, I wouldn't bank on them coming back from that.
Mm-hmm. And for me, excuse me, what stood out was Giannis, as you said, Milan, going 13 of 17 from the line. I really respect that part of his game. The rage right now on social media and Twitter is talking about how bad Ben Simmons is and how he's scared to, go up to the line, shoot free throws. At least Giannis has that part of his game, and he's willing to, acknowledge he's not the greatest. Excuse me, he's not the greatest at that aspect of his game, but he'll still go and shoot them. Obviously, the closest margin of this finals has been 10 points, which was in game 2. Obviously, both of you guys, I'm sure we're all looking for a closer game. Do you think we'll get that tonight?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, if Giannis plays the same way he played last time, and if, I guess I would expect Devin Booker to show up a little bit more. So I guess in a sense it would be closer. But if Giannis shows up the same way he did last game and the game before, it's going to be difficult, right? Especially in front of that Milwaukee crowd.
That's true. The one thing I would say, which I agree with Milan in the sense that, if Giannis is able to get going at home court, we've seen how much home court really helps teams. It really builds your momentum. But I feel like that was the first game in game 3 where the Bucks sort of unlocked the Suns and sort of figured out, okay, this is what we can do. Obviously, like we said before, it depends a lot on Giannis's supporting cast, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, those kind of guys. They still need to put in the performances because at the end of the day, Giannis can put up 50, 60 points, however much he wants. But if you guys aren't going to put the ball in the basket either, it's not going to do nothing. The Suns have, as much as they have 2 superstars right now, and Chris Paul, Devin Booker, they have such a good team with DeAndre Ayton, Jay Crowder's playing very well, McCall Bridges, all these different guys that come in and they just know their jobs. They know what they're doing. So they play like a real team. It'll be a very interesting game 4. I hope the Bucks win because my money's on the Bucks. I can't afford to lose any more money after what happened in the Euros. So please, Giannis, please help me hope. Well, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you had money on the Bucks for the playoffs.
I had it from before. I didn't think like because this is like when the Suns were I think they just beat the Lakers, and I'm like, okay, they had a good run. You know what I mean? There's no way they're getting to the finals, and I'm wrong.
Well, Bone has here in the notes that the Bucks have only lost one game at home this playoffs, and it was game one versus Atlanta when Trey went for 48 points. The Suns also are pretty good on the road, 6-3, and they haven't lost back-to-back games yet in the playoffs. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game tonight. If I were to predict it,
yeah,
I'd maybe give Bucks by 8. It's gonna be a close one.
Okay, yeah.
Skyler, what are your thoughts on what do you think goes down tonight?
I don't know if I can predict it to the points, but I would say it'll be a close game. I don't think it'll be another 20-point blowout, nothing like that. Probably 10 or less, because I don't know, man. Because playoff mentality, everything is just a lot more intense, and everyone gets in each other's face, all that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be a very close game, less than 10 points for me for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with both you guys. I think both teams are going to want it as much as any game this series. With each game, the intensity level just rises that much more. So I think give me Phoenix, but give me them by 5. Going with the Bucks or the Suns. Any more thoughts on basketball before we get into the beautiful game? Because we got a lot on that.
I do just want to say one thing, just because we mentioned Trae Young. I'm such a fan of Trae Young's game now. I didn't ever really ping him as like someone to be the villain, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I love the way he fits into the role. He plays into it well. I love what he's doing in Atlanta. Atlanta have a good young team. Him, John Collins, guys like that. I'm a big fan of Cam Reddish though, from when he was on Duke. He's not really doing his thing too much yet, obviously, because you're still relatively new into the league, all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you some time. But they have a very good team and potential to, do some things in the future of the league. But yeah.
I'll pose one question to that, Skyler. A lot of people have been, talking about the NBA next season in the Eastern Conference, and a lot of people have, Atlanta kind of making a run back. People saying if the Bucks don't win the title this year, Atlanta is going to be a force in the East next year alongside Brooklyn. Do you agree with that kind of line of thinking, or are you wanting to push back on that?
I think they could definitely still have a successful season. Now, how successful is it going to be as successful as this year or whatever, up for debate. In terms of them being up there with Brooklyn, I don't know. Brooklyn, even though, yes, they lost to the Bucks, I'd still have to put them a little bit higher just because simply on paper of the squad that you guys have. But the East has always been one of those leagues or one of those conferences where they might not have the best team, so to speak, because the West has always been with the powerhouses. But the East seems very compact in the sense where teams 1 through 7 could have all beaten each other, because you have obviously the Bucks, you have Brooklyn, 76ers. We'll see what happens with them. Miami Heat, I'm assuming Oladipo will be healthy for next season. So him, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, all those kind of guys, they should be doing their thing too. I'm biased, so you know what I mean? Let's just throw the Raptors in there. Why not? Tail end, let's throw them in there.
Okay, we're getting a high pick. We're going to kill it next year, yeah?
Exactly. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't say they're a shoo-in to have another good run like how they did this year, but down the line, when those guys, assuming you can keep your core players together, when they start hitting their primes, it'll be a very scary Atlanta team, I think.
Totally, yeah. And like the big thing there with Atlanta is, John Collins, I believe he's a restricted free agent this summer. So if someone gives him a high offer, Atlanta may very well let him walk. So that's a big piece to that. But I totally agree. Like you made a great point there with how, the core is young and they're only getting better. This isn't kind of a Milwaukee team where everyone's, in their primes or even kind of almost past their primes. This team has a lot of room to grow. And I definitely think that was probably, would you guys say that Atlanta making the conference finals was definitely not on your bingo cards? One of the most unexpected things of the playoffs?
I'd say that's more unexpected than the Suns making it as far as they did, because if I had them like going to 7 against the Knicks and potentially the Knicks winning, because I thought the Knicks were serious. This guy Trae Young just completely destroyed Madison Square. Became the biggest villain in New York. Like that guy can't walk alone on the streets of New York ever again now. Oh my.
Yeah, I don't, because they finished what, 6th or 5th in the conference.
Around there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
around there. Yeah.
not at all did I think they would make it to where they did. Especially in such a hostile environment like the Knicks and the Garden.
And then Philly.
Yeah, and Philly too. That's true. Those are like two of the most hostile environments
Mhm.
in the NBA. And like we said before, such a young roster. I'd even say Clint Capella too. He's a stud for me. But yeah, such a young squad, and to go into those type of environments and still get the results, it's huge. They have a very positive outlook for this coming season.
100%. Milan, are we, Skyler? Are we good to head on the football or anymore?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Milan, you can take this one away.
All right. Well, as you guys may know, July 10th, 2021, my 21st birthday. Shout out to me.
Sir.
But 8 p.m. Eastern, there was a football match, probably one of the biggest football matches we've seen in a very, very long time. Brazil versus Argentina at the Maracanã. I don't have words. I don't know what to say anymore. Messi is the greatest ever. He is the greatest ever. I don't care if he had a horrible game in the finals, even to like.
As long as you said that, I'm good. Now we don't have to argue.
Okay. Let's. I'll track back. Okay. So after years and years and years of people saying Messi can't show up, Messi can't deliver for the national side, this, that, and the other, he delivers on his promise to Argentina, gives them an international trophy for the first time since 1987. This is, other than the Olympics that he won in 2008, this is the first international trophy Argentina has won since then. This now ties Argentina up joint top in Copa America wins alongside Uruguay at 15 each, beating Brazil for the first time in 71 years at the Maracanã in a competitive match. And this all comes down to whether or not he didn't show up in the final. I'll be the first to say that he did not play well in that final game, but with 4 goals, 5 assists, 4 man of the match awards, he was already announced player of the tournament before the game was even played. Goat. But yeah, what a game. I mean, the pitch was in some of the worst condition I've ever seen in my entire life in terms of a professional pitch. Like, it looked like they were playing in my backyard or something like that. But fantastic game of football, talent on both sides of the field. Brazil, the obvious favorites coming into this game, host nation, dominating every single game. I believe they were on a 6-game winning streak. They were killing it, but you never count out a team that has Leo Messi on his side. And although he had a horrible game, other than one very big chance that he, for some reason, I think I can't even speak. Either he got nervous or he just forgot how to shoot or what. I don't know what it was, but this guy just missed a completely easy chance. But Rodrigo de Paul, as I call him, Mr. Sauce from Udinese, now signed for Atletico Madrid. Mm-hmm. Beautiful pass to Angel Di Maria, who just chips it right over Ederson. Mm-hmm. Just unreal game. Extremely physical from both sides. I believe in like the first 5 or 10 minutes, Neymar already had his shorts ripped up. Paquetá had his sock ripped up. Okay, so are Brazil.
Nah. You should see. Oh my God, what's his name? Otamendi. That guy's just the ringleader for all of it. That guy wants to get in fights.
Let's not act like Brazil does not have some dirty players on his own. You got.
They don't. I mean, they do. But I don't know. From what I've seen in the game. Yo, you know how hard it is to rip someone's shorts? Like, that's pretty. Like, I've tried to rip people's shorts, but that's hard.
I don't think that was the intention.
No, he didn't think your shorts were gonna give away. But I was like, damn, like what's going on? So yeah, someone had like a hole in their sock already. I was like, bro, what's happening? Yeah.
No, but also shout out to Paquetá. Hell of a tournament from this guy. From the guy that I used to see playing for Milan, this is a completely different player. And am I shocked? No, we talked about this, I believe, last week, me and Bowen. How Paquetá was a great player and he was just put in the wrong position, in the wrong, situation to succeed at Milan. And I'm happy that he's getting better and better. He's definitely not going to be the next Kaká, as so many people have dubbed him to be. He's a completely different player.
Kaká's name.
First of all, put some respect on Kaká, and then second of all, they're completely different players. I mean, Kaká was a more forward midfielder. He was almost like a second striker in that sense, and Paquetá is like a clear central attacking midfielder that stays his role and knows what to do. He creates. So yeah, I'd say they're different players, but What do you guys have to say about the game? Because I'm just gonna keep talking right now. I'm never gonna stop.
It was a great game to watch, especially as a neutral. My own, like, I didn't really care who won. I had a feeling Messi was gonna pull it out just because, like, we know about Messi. You know what I mean? Like, you know how that works. You know how that story ends. The only thing, like, I maybe by the slightest wanted Brazil to win because if you know me, you know I'm a huge Richarlison fan. On FIFA,
A Richarlison fan or a fan of the guy that Messi isn't?
No. If you play FIFA and you do career mode, whatever, sign Richarlison. I promise you, all your problems solved. He's fast. He's strong on the ball. He can head the ball. Everything. He's perfect. I love Richarlison. He actually had a chance that he was offside. Obviously, he scored, but he was offside, so it didn't count. But yeah, man, I don't know. So the only thing I have to say about the game in terms of as it pertains to Messi, let's not get it twisted. He's the only reason Argentina's there. We'll say that flat out.
100%.
Right? What was it?
100%.
4 goals, 5 assists, 4 man of the matches awards. If you say that, it was a team performance. No. Messi got them to the final. Okay. But the only thing we're like, I mean, I'm not saying it, but I've already spoken to people who have said it already. The whole Messi not performing in big games, this game sort of played into that. Just because, this was the final. You need to win this game. This is the big one of the tournament. And obviously, like we said before, he didn't have, too good of a showing. You know what I mean? He didn't do too much. Wasn't involved on the goal, whatever. It's not like he had a horrible game, but obviously to his standards, let's be honest here, didn't do much. Like I said, I'm not saying that, but some people do say that or how that would play into his whole,
So you're not saying that he's not showing in big games, or you are saying he's showing in big games? I just need to understand.
But let's be honest here. The narrative is that Messi doesn't perform in big games.
I need your opinion. I need your opinion. I don't need a narrative.
I think. Well, okay, because I know where you're going with this. We'll address the elephant in the room here.
No, elephant in the room. No. Time out. I just need to know right now if you think he does not show up in big games.
He does more often than not, but this is what I'm saying, because there's that whole, you want to talk about the GOAT discussion, whatever. First things first, I don't think you can say either one, Messi or Ronaldo, have ever been undisputed GOAT. You can't do that just because they're so back and forth.
Right.
Me as a Ronaldo fan, I'm gonna be honest, he performs more in big games. He'll put the ball in the back of the net. That's not saying Messi doesn't do that, but it's to say that not as often, and shown July 10th when he didn't do much. But yeah, like I said, he's the only reason Argentina made it to that final. Messi's one of those guys where even though you're an all-star, you're a superstar, even if you're not having a good game, the whole defense is still catered towards you, whether or not you even have the ball or not. So let's say, just for example, Rodrigo De Paul having that ball to play over the top for Di Maria on the right.
Brazil wasn't expecting that.
Because Messi's on the left, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what Messi's doing. Because of your status and you being one of the GOATs, everyone's just going to cater towards you, regardless if you're having a good game, bad game, whatever. So it's one of those ones where he indirectly got the assist for the goal. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Indirectly, he got an assist that game. But yeah, man, I don't know. It was good to see him finally get his international trophy. He's like 1 for 10 now with that. So, I mean, that actually made it sound worse. I didn't even try to do that.
Oh my God, this guy just
no, that actually made it sound worse. I'm not even trying to do that.
Guy? Oh my goodness.
I didn't even try to do that, but he's 1 for 10. At least he got one. You know what I mean? At least now people can dead the whole like, oh, no international trophy.
What's Ronaldo? 1 for?
I have no idea. Actually, he's got 2. So you can.
Can we not count the Nations League
Yeah,
as a
that
trophy?
counts,
I beg
that counts.
you.
I'll give you
Why
that.
not? Why not?
The Nations
not?
League counts?
Why not? Why not?
The Nations League.
Okay.
So how does that competition work? No, time out. Skyler, I want you to explain to me how that competition works.
No,
I don't know.
Wait, listen. Who, if you look up the winners of the nation, what was that, 2019?
Yes, I believe so.
Who are the winners?
Oh, right.
I just wanted to know. Who are the winners for the 2019?
No, but can you just explain to me how the Nations League works?
Like, I just want you to tell me who won.
I know who won.
So
you and I both know who won.
Who lifted the trophy?
Bernardo Silva did.
No, you're lying. But anyways, if you don't want to count that, okay, fine. We don't have to count that. Sure, whatever you want to do. We can just unvalidate trophies now if you want to do that.
No, but it's just how is the Nations League as like, how do you compare that to? That's the same thing as the Olympics, I'd say. Personally.
Hey man, you're the one that said you didn't want to count the Olympics. I didn't say that.
Okay, so then he's 2 for 10. He's not 1 for 10.
Okay, 2 for 10.
Okay, and Ronaldo is 2-4.
I don't know. I legitimately don't know. But I mean, he's got a Euros, which I think is bigger than Copa America. We can get into that after when we talk to Euros. No, seriously, do you think Copa America is bigger than Euros? I was meaning to ask that question later on, though.
Okay, yeah. The way I see it, you can't hold a guy where a guy lives as to, which is more difficult to win. And I mean, if Messi decided to play for Spain, we all know Spain would have 3 World Cups and 3 Euros straight.
Whoa.
Would not lose ever.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that.
How not? Though?
Explain
how not?
yourself.
So obviously,
I mean, look at it this way. If he started playing there 07, let's say, right? He'd start playing there 07. 08, he'd win the Euros without even being the most important thing, without even being the most important part of that team. 2010, he'd win the World Cup. 2012, he'd win the Euros. 2014,
but those 3 they would have already won.
He would be the best player on his team who already led Argentina to a final, and then he would be leading Spain to a final, probably won a World Cup there. I think so. I think I die on the hill that if Di Maria was healthy for that Germany game, Argentina would have won.
Maybe, but anyways, yeah, go on.
So yeah, 2014, there's your answer. 2016, he'd be playing in the Euros. That's a little bit more difficult. I think France might edge them there, but I think he would still make a very, very deep run. 2018, I think he could have won it, considering that he was on that side of the bracket where it was England and Croatia that were only the team that got to the semifinals. I believe Spain lost in the first round.
Lost to Russia on penalties. Like 1,000
capitulations, like I've never seen before from against the host nation as well. But I mean, those guys are running in the 120th minute as if they were playing the first minute, because those guys are on some crazy steroids. And I whatever. I think that if Messi were to choose to play in Europe, that's what would have happened, right? If you could argue in the different sense that Ronaldo to play for Brazil, I don't know.
So okay, but wait. Like I'm not like, it's not like I disagree, but like, so right now as the competition stands, which one do you think is harder to win?
Oh, it's difficult. Here's the rationale as to why I can't clear cut say one is more difficult, because as we saw in that final, playing in South America is a different game from Europe, right? You got tackles that just aren't given. You got like boots to the head, pants ripped, socks ripped, no calls.
It's only
right?
when you play Argentina, but yeah.
No, that's
I'm kidding.
Did you watch Argentina Colombia?
I'm kidding.
That was UFC. That was anti-football. That was not the beautiful game. That's how they play in South America, because that's how they learn the game. They're aggressive, right? They don't care. They fight to the end. That's why we see South American teams pushing like so deep into the World Cup tournaments, right? On the contrary to Europe, you got a lot more talent in Europe, right? You got the likes of France, Germany, England, Italy, Spain. That's just the big 5. You've got teams like Croatia every now and then that, push. You've got Denmark, Czech Republic, Switzerland. I'd say those are all teams that are solid though, and all those teams would make deep runs in the Copa. You know what I mean? You've just got talent in the Euros that's beyond the talent that's in Copa America, but Copa America is a much more physical and difficult game to win, because if you win in Copa America, it's you won the game, right?
My whole logic with it, which I agree, it's a completely different game. South America is like, it's just rougher. If you ever watch, like, if you're like me and you just watch like football compilations about whatever, if you ever look up like best fights or whatever in this year, it's all of them are South America. Yeah,
Argentina, Colombia.
Yeah, all of them are in South America. Like that's what it is. My logic is where I kind of say Euros probably has the edge. Is just for the FIFA rankings in general. Usually the European teams are a little bit higher. In terms of the World Cup tournaments, usually it's the European teams that are favored and usually come out on top over South American teams. That's not to say that South American, obviously, okay, look, South American teams have what? I'd say 2-3 out of the top 4 best players in the world right now, whichever way you want to slot it. They have Messi, Neymar, back when he was in his prime. Luis Suarez was there. I'm a huge fan of Cavani, so he's our Uruguay as well. Like, they have a squad, they have guys. But in terms of, like I said, like the FIFA rankings, all that kind of stuff is where I sort of give the Euros the edge a little bit more. Even like in terms of coverage too, like there's more coverage for the Euros than there are in Copa America here.
That's
anyways,
a little
in
bit.
Canada.
That's a little bit of political stuff. Though.
Yeah,
It has
in
nothing
Canada,
to
it's
do
like
with,
that.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, if you're in South America, it's completely different. You might not even see anything about the Euros if you're in South America, but that's where I give them the edge just a little bit.
What about you, Bone? Copa America or Euros?
Okay, can I take the conversation back to what you're saying about Spain really quickly?
Okay.
I was just thinking, and I just wanted to, I know we're going off topic a bit here, but I just want to disagree because, you know how back when we talk about Michael Jordan retiring, going to play baseball, doing all that, people assumed he would, win 8 straight titles. I think you're kind of assuming that Spain would just plug and play Messi and they'd win all those titles. Would you agree?
Okay. I guess, but it's just I know because I've seen.
Though.
The thing is, I see Messi play with those Spanish teammates, right? I see him with Xavi, with Iniesta, with David Villa. I see the way he plays at Barcelona, and that's why I can, I guess, make that estimated assumption that he's gonna ball for Spain as well.
It is a fair assumption, like the same way, like the whole Michael Jordan thing, because to be honest, he won
with Jordan,
the 3 leading up to it and the 3 after that when he came back. So it's kind of like a more fair assumption to say that. It's not that it's true. But,
with Jordan, it's actually a little bit more complicated the more I look into it, because people forget that Hakeem Olajuwon during those 2 years of Jordan's, break,
top baller,
the best years of his career. Like, would he have beaten the Chicago Bulls? I think so in the finals if had they come up against each other. Like, I don't think it would have been that far-fetched to say that personally. I don't think he could have gotten 8 rings purely because Hakeem Olajuwon was at the top of his game. For me, top 2, top 3 centers of all time.
Thank you. The one thing I agree, but I'm gonna just for the sake of it. I'm a huge fan of Hakeem Olajuwon. 2K, you know what I mean? Creative player DNA, Hakeem Olajuwon. That's my center, right? The one reason why I would say he might have actually still at least got 7, as I know from the year he retired and won the championship, obviously, I think they won 56 games in the regular season. When he retired, it was just Scottie Pippen.
Yeah,
I think they won 55 games or something like that. So it's not like the team dropped off draft. It's not like when LeBron left the Cavs, like you guys are in the finals to the lottery. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They were still a very good team. So I would like to think they might have still pulled it off. But if someone were to tell, like if Milan saying like, "Oh, Houston would have won," I'm not mad at that at all because I'm a huge fan of that Houston Rockets team. The Hakeem Olajuwon, what's his name now? High flyer. Torres Achilles came back. Dude, what the heck? I can picture him. Dominique Wilkins.
I was just about to say Dominique Wilkins.
I think it was Dominique. No, I was pretty sure he was on that
Clyde
team.
Drexler played for Portland, no?
Yeah,
he did go to.
Oh, he ended up going to Houston eventually.
Later, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm a football guy. I'm not a basketball
Anyways,
guy.
we're going completely off topic. Bowen was bringing up a valid point about this whole Spain argument. And Bowen, let's bring it back here. The point you had about the Spain debate or whatever, why exactly would you disagree on the sense that
you're not accounting for burnout, you're not accounting for all these external factors, you're just thinking that one player, and I get what you're saying about teammates, he already has continuity with playing in La Liga and playing with and against those players that he would be playing with on the national team, but I don't think you're taking into account the effect of penalty shootout, a bad day at the office, players getting injured, managerial changes. Like, it's not that simple. It's not like a 1-to-1 connection, if that makes sense. That's like what I'm trying to say.
I hear what you're saying. It's difficult to just automatically put him out there. It's just I'm basing it on pure talent, ability, and
it is a fair assumption.
The fact that we've all seen him play how he plays in Spain alongside these superstars, right? So if you were to just make an estimate, then I think that's what could happen. But like you're saying, it's very, it's very difficult to just say what if he gets an injury, right? You can't account for that. What if he
that's tough.
Tough. Do you wanna cut it soon and then we'll just do part 2? Okay. So
just cut it after this argument and then
anyways, okay, as I was saying, so obviously you can't account for some of the worst case scenarios for Messi, but if you didn't, that could be what could happen in Messi's career had he chosen to play with the Spanish passport.
I think
no, go on.
I think bare minimum is, so you said he would have, so it would have been 6 in general, 3 like they already won plus the 2 years in the World Cup after that. or no, 2 World Cups in a year after that. I think bare minimum, at least 1, probably 2. If you give them the benefit of the doubt of, like you said, something crazy happening around one tournament, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think, let's be honest here, Messi is Spanish. He just, you know what I mean? He just had to go play for Argentina. But he's Spanish. He grew up there. He plays that style of football. I mean, they speak Spanish in Argentina. You know what I'm saying? So basically Spanish. But yeah.
What's your guys' case for Messi Ballon d'Or? Do you think it's a wrap? Do you think he's the one most deserving? Or
I was thinking about this, and like I would say yeah, but this is my problem with it, because I don't know still to this day why they didn't do a Ballon d'Or ceremony last year. Like, I get it, okay, you can't be in person live, whatever, but just like ship the thing off to Lewandowski. You know what I mean? I feel like Lewandowski was so robbed of a Ballon d'Or. And I was thinking, I was like, should you just give it to Lewandowski? But then it's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of not fair for what Messi did this year, for what a whole bunch of other guys did this year. Not to say Lewandowski's not deserving of it. I think he still had a great season. He broke Gerd Muller's record
by playing much less games because of injury.
Yeah. So he definitely balled out. I think he's still worthy of a Ballon d'Or. I would want to give it to him, but like, I don't know, like Messi played insane. Messi should get the Ballon d'Or this year. So I don't, you know what I mean? It's kind of tough.
Bowen?
Yeah, Milan, I just want to say here in the notes, it says, was it ever in doubt? I'd have to say 100% yes, it was in doubt. First off, they finished 3rd in La Liga, their lowest position in the league since, I believe, the year before Pep took over. Secondly, they only won 1 trophy. Thirdly, they were pretty rowdy. I can't speak. They're pretty embarrassed in the Champions League against PSG. Yes, Messi scored in both games, but they were brushed aside by Paris. So was it in doubt? Yes. Does he deserve it though? I agree with you, Skyler. I definitely think Messi, based off everything else he's achieved in the Copa America win, goes a long way into that accumulation of work. I definitely think you have to consider him as one of the main candidates for it, because you look at the list, N'Golo Kante, he's not getting it because France didn't win the Euro. Yes, he was phenomenal in other competitions, but he just hasn't done enough, and it usually goes to a goal scorer. Lewandowski, Bayern didn't go back-to-back in the Champions League. I think that hurts him a lot, plus the injury. And then
plus is Poland.
Yeah, and then like Ronaldo, he, as much as you love Ronaldo, I don't think he's done enough either. So there's still the rest of the season to go, but I think, yeah, as of right now, Messi would be in the driver's seat to win the Ballon d'Or come December.
I'm just happy you didn't say Jorginho.
That's exactly my point. The reason I say it wasn't in doubt is because, yes, we can argue that Messi, 3rd in the league, a slow start for his standards, didn't make a deep run in the Champions League. But like, if we're only counting trophies, then yeah, Jorginho is the one that's most deserving. But we know Jorginho is not the best player of this year that deserves the trophy. It's who's the best player. And I believe, other than maybe Lewandowski, who you can potentially argue, I think it's a clear-cut Ballon d'Or for Messi, personally.
Yeah, I think as it pertains to the Jorginho thing, like, I feel like, and this is like with no disrespect, but I feel like he was just the guy that was on both teams. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to that Champions League final,
like Emerson Palmieri as well.
Yeah,
let's throw him into that
exactly. Like, if you go to the Champions League final, I don't think he was the best player on that team on the field. I think it was actually Reece James who did a job in that Champions League final, holding Raheem Sterling. Even if you go to the Euros, you have Spinazzola, who was, I think he still made team of the tournament, right?
Yep.
Even though he got it, yeah, he still did. He was, for me, the standout guy. And then obviously you still have the center back pairing of Chiellini and Bonucci that I think did better than Jorginho did. He was kind of, on both teams, and that's why I guess he's thrown into it.
But just before we wrap up this part, like, what do you guys think about like these teams going forward, especially Brazil? Because Brazil, they looked great all tournament, but like, obviously they didn't deliver on their home soil. Like, where do they go from here in terms of competing for another World Cup, potentially number 6?
It's hard to say these kinds of things with national teams, because it's not like you can just buy someone that fits your mold. You know what I mean? You're restricted to a certain pool of players. The only things you can really do is, if you so choose to get rid of the manager and, implement a new system, you could do that, I guess, if you want. Other than that, like, even though, you guys lost in the finals, it's still a very strong team. Neymar's there. I'm a fan of Firmino. Casemiro's there, Marquinhos, Ederson, Allison in goal. They have a good team still. They'll still be competitive in the World Cup. But in terms of like adjustments, that's the thing I can really think of you doing, maybe getting rid of the management and starting something new with a new style, but it's kind of tough.
It's hard to say that too, because Tite has been fantastic since he's taken over for Brazil, right?
Yeah.
Like he's changed up their philosophy a lot more. He's brought back players that are a little older and like Thiago Silva playing a lot more for this Brazil side.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I will say though, because I was thinking about this the other day, I was talking about it with my dad, is Brazil, which I don't think they have someone like that now. Maybe the closest one to it is Neymar. But if you look at Brazil historically, they have these players that are just, they're demigods.
Right.
Yeah, they're big. They can drive with, like, R9 is probably the leading factor in that, or the leading player in that. Ricardo Kaká was like that when he was in his prime. Adriano was like that. Maicon on the right. Like, they're all these big players that can drive with so much power into space. It doesn't look like they have that now. I guess it would be Neymar, even though he's like a bit smaller, shiftier kind of mold. But that was just one of the things I thought of.
Yeah, and Skyler, that's a great point you bring up. And yeah, we can talk about, generational players, I guess you could call it, and those players all fit that mold. I would say I'd argue that the only real player that kind of fits that mold right now for Brazil would be Neymar, right? Like, who else on Brazil right now kind of stacks up to those legends of days gone by? I don't think you can say anybody else.
I would put Thiago Silva in that mold. I'm a huge fan of Thiago Silva.
And maybe goalkeepers.
Yeah, them too. Just in terms of what he's done with PSG, now on Chelsea, just being that leader voice in the locker room all the time. I'm a huge fan of his.
All right, guys, welcome back to part 2 of this episode of SBST, and on to the other final that happened over the weekend, the Euro 2020 final, England versus Italy. Sunday's final match was, everything was made up to be. It was a bloodbath. It was dramatic. It was everything you would want to see in a international final, right? But as always, England does what England does best and folds. Gareth Southgate took a lot of criticism for his lineup choice coming into the match. He played pretty much the same lineup against Germany in terms of the 5-back. He played Trippier and Shaw as the wing backs, with Kyle Walker in the back alongside Maguire and Stones. The same midfield that's played throughout the tournament, the double pivot with Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips. But the weird one was starting Mason Mount, who hasn't played in a while, was recovering from, I believe, I'm not sure if he had COVID or was just quarantining for COVID. Played him for the better part of this match. I believe almost 100 minutes on the pitch. It was, arguably it was what lost England the match, but we can get into that a little further. In terms of Italy, same organization we've seen them have throughout the tournament, obviously without Spinazzola, as we mentioned earlier on. But other than that, pretty much the same team. Chiesa started playing from the starting moments a lot more than Berardi did at the beginning of the tournament. But, Roberto Mancini has done a fantastic job throughout this tournament. Or so I thought, until the second minute when Luke Shaw scores one of the luckiest volleys I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't think I've ever seen
respect
anything.
on Luke Shaw Carlos, bro. Come on, man.
That was lucky. That was lucky.
He's like that.
Was that lucky?
Luke Shaw Carlos is like that. He'll do it again.
Was that lucky?
That's my guy. No, it was unexpected. It was unexpected. That's what it was.
So if you ask him to score like that 10
he'll
times,
do it again.
How many times will he score? 9?
7. 6. I'll say 6.
I'll say like 3 out of 10.
No.
And that's me being generous.
Nah, it was a great goal. It was a good goal.
What do you think, Bowen?
I think it was on the Shaw goal or just the game itself?
The Shaw goal.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic ball played in by Trippier. Shaw was open at the back post. His man didn't track him, and it was a wonderful finish. And I thought it was going to be the end of England's, international trophy, though, but it turned out not to be the case. But yeah, I think, could he do it more than 3 times? Yes, but I couldn't exactly put a number on it.
The thing is like that goal never should have happened. Like, I don't know what Di Lorenzo was even looking at when
defending
the ball was played
Shaw.
over. Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, he had like acres of room at the back post. Honestly, he had time to like settle it if he wanted to and then shoot. But it was a good finish. The goal, it was a real bad like mental lapse in terms of Italy's defense, I'll say.
I can't wait until Calabria joins this team because that seems to be like
Yo,
the weakest point.
You've come so 180 on Calabria. This guy used to message me every AC Milan game hating on Calabria.
I did.
And now you love him.
I need to be transparent here. I was the number one hater of Davide Calabria. I completely counted him out after last season. You know, he played the beginning of the season under Gianpaolo. Horrible. I don't think I've ever seen a worse player than what Davide Calabria. I would tweet Davide Calabria on, TV off every single time that guy would get onto the pitch. Every single time. Pioli came in. He was still not the best, but the season that just passed, from start to finish, he was our best player on the pitch, the most important position. You know, Diogo Dalot did not fill his boots as well as Calabria did.
Over Kessié, do you think?
It's difficult because Kessie was important, but not as important to the team because we still had the likes of Benacer, who when it was healthy was fantastic as well.
Fair.
We still had Tonali, who played very, very well when he had his opportunity. I think for me that Calabria is starting to become to that player that Milan fans are looking for throughout the years in terms of he's going to be that fullback that we keep imagining him to be. We keep saying he's going to be the next Zambrotta, this, that, and the other. He's finally starting to get to that level. Will he achieve it? That remains to be seen, but I think he would have been fantastic for this Italy side, especially with how Mancini plays his, you know, as most modern day managers play through their fullbacks, you know, the Liverpool style of football, the Barcelona style of football, play through the right back and the left back. Spinazzola, we saw it on the left. Di Lorenzo doesn't really give as much going forward, but Calabria is fantastic for, you know, the long balls through. He'd just be perfect for that Italy team, and I think once he's healthy, unfortunately, he was suffering from a hernia this year, coming into the Euros. He was not called up because of that. Had he been healthy, would have been a perfect team. No doubt in my mind they'll be competing in this coming World Cup if he's healthy. But on the topic of that, you know, England in that first half, they sat back after they scored, and honestly, for the first half, I'd say it worked because Italy just could not break them down. Right? Italy, we've seen them score with ease throughout the tournament, you know, multiple games where they scored 3 goals. But they just could not break down England with this double pivot and the 5-back. But after many, many chances, Bonucci finally buries a deflected shot off the corner to tie the game in the 67th minute. I don't know how you guys felt really about the goal. It was a little bit messy. A few mistakes here and there, but you know, luck has to run out at some point for England, right?
Coming because after they scored they scored in the 2nd minute. I say up until like the 10th, 15th minute, they were actually playing well. They were still being aggressive, but then, like you said, after that they just sat back. And I think the difference from the first half to the second half, which I mean, you could sort of come to expect it, obviously, with exhaustion and everything. The first half, when they sat back, it was organized. There was communication. There was still pressure once they got into their third, especially from the front. But when you got into the second half, Harry Kane did absolutely nothing. Dreadful in his second half. He looked like he was playing on one lung, like he was hungover or something like that, like from the pubs. I don't know what's going on, but he wasn't putting any pressure at all on Chiellini or Bonucci. So they just had all the time in the world to ping balls wherever they wanted to. Honestly, what I would have done was I would have probably dropped someone like a Jorginho or a Verratti in between both of them, so he could be the one playing those balls, and maybe sub in someone like Bernardeschi or Bellotti who can come into that striker role and kind of play as a false 9 more so. But the goal I saw coming, look who it was. It was Harry Kane that couldn't get to the ball first. He got beat to the ball by Bonucci. Like just because he was exhausted. I don't know what was going on with him. Southgate still doesn't know what he's doing. Hands down, the worst manager in the world, in my opinion.
That's harsh. That's harsh.
I don't know about that
so
one.
Bad.
Explain yourself.
Horrible. He's horrible. If he had actually made the proper subs and even lined up the team properly, you guys wouldn't have had to go to penalties. If you had actually subbed in Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho maybe before the 18th minute, so they can actually get a feel for the ball, so their first touches aren't the penalties, maybe you guys would have actually won. If you had actually given the penalty to Jack Grealish because he asked, maybe you guys would have won instead of giving it to 19-year-old Bukayo Saka, who had a great tournament. But let's be honest here, never took a professional penalty before. He's 19 years old. That's so much pressure to put on a kid. not only did you put him in the lineup for the 5 penalty takers over Jack Grealish and Raheem Sterling, you put him 5th. Like, what's going on?
And apparently 6th and 7th were gonna be like Kyle Walker and Calvin Phillips. Like they weren't even like, I don't know what these guys did to Gareth Southgate, but he does not like them.
He doesn't know what he's doing. Like, and like honestly, Jack Grealish came out. He even said on Twitter, like he said he wanted to take one. So the fact it would have been a different story if, and I would agree with all the media guys saying, "Oh, you can't let a young kid take a penalty before you." If Jack Grealish and Raheem Sterling just sat back, like I can't really speak for Raheem Sterling and seeing if he actually said, "Yo, let me take a penalty," whatever. But I know Jack Grealish did. So the fact that he did and you said no, just I don't know what kind of beef you have with him. I don't know what he said to you before or whatever. We need to get over that because that's someone he should be one of the first names on the list. But yeah, that was my mini. I was just a bit heated at that, even though I'm happy Italy won because I didn't want to have to hear all the, oh, it's home, whatever, all that type of stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I can't go as far as to say he's the worst manager in the world. I think he's massively, massively overrated, like extremely overrated. But you can't put back the fact that, 2 deep runs for England in international tournaments.
Like, I put that down to the players because
that's exactly what I'm about to get to. That's what I'm exactly what I'm going to get to. My argument is that, yeah, he's had 2 deep runs, but if he didn't have that talent, would he make that deep run, right? We've seen a few adjustments. He tactically completely outclassed Germany. Other than that, I'd say he had a cakewalk run to the final. I mean, and the Denmark game, like the verdict's still out on that because we don't really know whether or not that was a dive, that was a penalty, the second ball in the field, the laser pointed in Kasper Schmeichel's eye. There's so many different things that we can talk about in terms of that Denmark game. I don't really want to be a sore loser on that front. England made the final. They made, they had a great tournament. They deserved it, right? But I'd say their side of the bracket was very, very easy to get through. So it's hard to say, he made a final. So how can you say he's shite, right? But it's difficult because there's some, like, for example, Bowen, I want to hear your take on this as an Arsenal fan with Bukayo Saka. Do you think he should have been on much earlier? Do you think he should have been on at all? Do you think he was what England needed? I think he played well when he had his chances personally.
Yeah.
I want to also get your take on the whole Chiellini top foul because there's a lot of people that I don't think I've ever seen football that automatically think that's like a violation that should be put in jail for.
Bowen,
I want to hear your take on all this.
I have to ask you afterwards about your little exhibition game the other day about Hibernian. We can talk about that after.
But
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things to get to. First off, Bukayo Saka. Yeah, I think you have to include him in the final. I mean, I think there's always going to be talk about. There's no one is ever going to be universally happy over Southgate's decisions and what squad he brings to the lineup to the table, just because there's so many attacking options. I think he got it right, but I think definitely putting Bukayo Saka as the 5th penalty taker, which is arguably the most important penalty to take, is a grave mistake, and that's already been talked to death, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but definitely mistake. Should Saka have started? Yes, I think he should have, so I think he got that right. What was the second question that was posed?
The foul on by Chiellini.
Yeah,
how did you feel about it?
Yeah,
there's nothing cynical about that. It's just part of the game, right?
I totally agree. I think if you were to send Chiellini off there, I think it totally destroys the flow of the game. And the referee never wants to be the center of attention in that moment. So I think, it is what it is. That's football. It'd be very harsh to give a red card there or sending off in that scenario. So I think the call was right on that. And as for the rest of the game, I mean, what do you guys have to think? I'll throw it back to you guys. What do you guys have to think of, Southgate's decisions in terms of like his lineups? Because I believe he used 3 different formations throughout the tournament. He was never really able to pick a certain, standard of play. What do you guys make of that? Because I do think that ended up costing them to an extent in the end.
Yeah, that's something like at whatever level, like even like at our level, like if you're a teenager or whatever, if your manager keeps switching around formation, it does sort of mess with you because it's with every formation, it's a different system in some way. Mm-hmm. So they were able to obviously get away with it for the most part because it still made it to the final in a relatively, I'll say, easier bracket than the other side. So they got away with it. Would they have been able to do that when they were in the same bracket as like the France, Italy, Spain? I don't know. It's a lot tougher that way because, like anything, you need to. It doesn't matter if you're a pro, whatever. You need to get used to your system. So sticking with one thing and just working on it, perfecting it is what you need to do. Not keep switching it around. The one thing I'll give him a little bit like of room to breathe is that team is so deep. So choosing your start, it's not like you have a clear cut 11 only. You have so many guys on that team, which I can argue relatively, you can make a case for all of them starting for a certain type of game, right? Yeah. So I give him a little bit of room in terms of, okay, switching on formation because you have so many guys that you need to sort of incorporate. And even then, Jadon Sancho barely saw the pitch. Marcus Rashford barely saw the pitch. Someone as young as because I still like him, Jude Bellingham barely saw the pitch. Like it's still one of those things. So I give him a little bit of room for switching out formations though.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty, I think that's actually a pretty reasoned, level-headed take. I respect that a lot. In terms of like Southgate being the worst manager in the world, going back to that, I know I'm kind of going backtracking here, but I definitely think that England's performance getting to this point, I would agree Milan would have to be down to, they had an easier bracket. How far do you guys think England would have made it had they been on the opposite side? Because I think they probably would have made the semis, but I don't see them getting to the actual final on that side.
I think had they been on that side, best case scenario is semis. But I think when you think it's England, round of 16.
I mean, I do agree with that.
I mean, they lost to Iceland Euro 2016 in the round of 16. So is it really that far-fetched? Yes, it was Roy Hodgson. Yes, it was different talent. Yeah, but here's my also rationale for that. You mentioned Harry Kane earlier. The issue with Harry Kane playing for England is that I don't believe Gareth Southgate actually tries to play through Harry Kane. I mean, we've got a player that's just coming off a season where he was top goal scorer and top assistman in, I'd say, the top 2 to 3 most difficult league, right? Arguably number 1, but top 2 to 3 for sure, right? He's not getting the ball, right? Because you're playing this formation that just does not give your striker the ball, does not give him the freedom. And you're playing him solo up front. The reason he's been able to get these assists is because he was able to play off of Son throughout the season, right? When he's not getting that opportunity to play off of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Jack Grealish, any creative player of that sort, how is he going to be effective, right? Like, yeah, he's looking like a pen merchant. This guy's 4 goals, and not one of them to me is memorable. Maybe the one in the semis, and that was because Casper Schmeichel still saved it at first. It was a tap in, right? There's nothing that I'm like, wow, Harry Kane had a good tournament. And I blame that personally completely on Gareth Southgate because he's not making the most of his best players, right? I'll give him credit that he has a lot of talent to work with, and it's hard to choose because I saw just to shout out Nigel on Twitter. He was saying, I don't know why Mason Mount's played throughout this tournament. He's a fraud, blah, blah, blah. Me personally, I can't judge a 20, 21-year-old as a fraud when the guy's career just started. And the thing is that there's a reason Mason Mount starts for all these teams, right? There's a reason that Thomas Tuchel, I'm not really going to speak on Frank Lampard's managerial stint, but Frank Lampard as well, Gareth Southgate, there's a reason they all want him in the side and at some capacity. But there was a point where Gareth Southgate should have looked at that final and said, we have a little bit of momentum here. We need a little bit of more creativity. We need to change up the formation just a tad, and then we can compete here, right? If he brought on Jack Grealish a little bit earlier, creativity, there you go. There you have the chance to put Harry Kane through. You have someone like Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford. I still don't believe Marcus Rashford should have been called up purely because he's playing through injury, and there's just no need to waste that. Had he gone hurt and he missed this whole season, that would have been much worse. And I guarantee you, Gareth Southgate would have gotten a lot more stick, right? But for the sake of, let's say he was healthy, he should have been playing a lot earlier to bomb down the wings, use that pace because Italy was getting a little bit tired, right? Italy, although throughout the game, I believe they had 17 shots on goal. I showed that they were pushing on England the entire match. As we mentioned in the penalties, throwing in younger players that are cold didn't get a chance to warm into the game yet for the penalty shootout. I don't know. Arguably, you can say Rashford should have scored his penalty because he's the penalty taker for his club side. Yes, Bruno Fernandes has taken them, Cavani has taken them, but we've seen Marcus Rashford take penalties against PSG and a crucial second leg. Like, Marcus Rashford should have scored. Nerves got to him. That's football, right? Sancho, pretty poor penalty. I didn't expect him to score it. We don't really see Sancho score penalties. We know when he plays for Dortmund, he's not the penalty taker, right? Saka, I won't even touch on that, but I really want to talk on this, that has been talked about for days and days on end, the abuse that these players have received on the social medias, on everything of that sort. It's absolutely disgusting. And just, I don't even know how does that the first thing that, like, because the issue is us three watching, we knew what was going to happen on social media when they missed those penalties, right? We knew what was going to happen.
I think that's really sad, to be honest, that we, even before it happened, as soon as they missed, everyone knew that this would be the response by all the racist pricks that have to be, all whatever. They cheer for them when we win, but when we lose, oh, you're this XYZ, whatever. And it's not just black players, it's everything. It's also with Germany. It's all these kinds of guys that are immigrants to their country. Where as soon as we lose, now you're the outsider. Now why are you here? All that type of bullshit. But sorry, I didn't know if I could
don't go on.
But I think that was really sad that we actually had to think about, okay, this is actually what's going to happen. And then another thing, just depending on how you want to look at it, it's crazy that like only after some really ugly, horrible stuff like this happens is when you see the most beautiful things, where the whole community, like if you look at Rashford's mural in Manchester United, all the United fans there posting letters, all these different things, thanking Marcus Rashford, everything he's done. Because obviously Marcus Rashford, even though as young as he is, he's one of those guys where he's just as big as, if not bigger, outside of the pitch. Everything he does for the less privileged kids in England, it's one of those things. So it's really nice to see that people acknowledge that and are still very supportive of him, even though there are people that obviously use color to hate on people. But yeah.
No, 100%. And I don't know, it's just horrible that this happened. It's heartbreaking just to know that, like, why is it that if you mess up at your job, like, you can just get berated like this on social media, like night and day. And like, it's not even just these players. Like, there are so many clips I saw through TikTok, on Twitter, of like people at like watch parties, and then they find black people and they just start abusing them. Like, this is your fault. Like, what? Mm-hmm. What are you talking? Like, this is sports. Like, how can you address people this way? Like, it's disgusting that this has to happen to anyone. And there's a lot of petitions that are being spread around throughout the United Kingdom right now. One specifically that's being spread around throughout, like, the big content creators, is being a requirement to have ID on you when you sign up for social media, in case if you do something stupid like a lot of these people have done. Let's track you down. Let's not have you hide behind a little picture of I don't know which player, because it's always those people that have the DPs of Marcus Rashford that are going on Twitter and then berating Marcus Rashford or Jadon Sancho or Bukayo Saka. It just comes to a point where we can't have that keep happening, because we're never going to be in a position where people are safe in that sense, right?
Actually, I saw this thing. Anton Ferdinand, Rio Ferdinand's brother. Yeah. He ended up saying this thing, and I honestly agree with him. He was saying that England shouldn't be able to hold any major sporting events until they can get the racism under control. Because it's crazy where it's a sport like football where it's international. Every country on the planet plays football. It's not like okay, basketball. There's some European players, but it's mainly American players predominantly. Hockey, same thing. It's played a little bit of everywhere, but more or less, it's usually it's just the white population in America, right? There's a one in a few ethnic players, but football everywhere. You got people from if you look at, I don't know, just Liverpool just came to my mind, for example.
Yeah.
Your center backs from the Netherlands, okay, that's in Europe. When your wingers,
Cameroon.
one of your wingers is from Senegal, Sadio Mane, Egypt, another one in Brazil. So it's just like, it's all over the place, a lot of these football teams. And it's crazy that stuff still happens, even though there's such a diversity on the teams themselves. But yeah.
How would you guys feel if, ID was needed to be like to register for like do you think that's like the right way to go about it? Do you think is that what's going to kind of help this kind of situation? Or
I'd be okay with it for me. Cause I mean, you got to do something has to happen. And it's like, the people saying like, oh, why do I have to give my idea? Then just don't get it. Don't get social media. You don't need social media. You know what I mean? So if you don't want to put it in, don't get it. But I don't see any problem with it. It's just the whole point of it is holding people accountable for your actions. So no more of this blind hate mail. KD can't have no more burner accounts. You know what I'm saying? He's got to own up to it, talk shit on his own account. But
and he does, to be fair. He does.
He does now. Yeah, he does. But you know what I mean? How do we know he doesn't do it on all these other crazy accounts? But yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it's a tough issue, and my thoughts and prayers, well, not really prayers, but thoughts are with the players that have been dealing with these kind of situations, and not just from this, but for forever now, right? And I hope this doesn't really, ruin their talent and their confidence going forward, because, all three of these players are stars. They're fantastic for the sport. I've ever since earlier on this season, I believe it was the round of 16 in the Europa League, I've been a huge fan of Bukayo Saka. I think he's, for me, arguably maybe Aubameyang. Other than him, I'd say Saka is Arsenal's current best player, because of what he brings to that team, the versatility he has, and he's got a very, very bright future ahead of him. At only 19 years of age, he's going to be a fantastic player. We already know about Rashford and Sancho, also still so young, but great players that have already achieved so much in their respective fields.
Yeah. I think because he's just young, so he's got all that, the pep in his step. So he's still very energetic, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't have to go into an ice bath after every session. You know what I mean? He's still fresh all the time. So it's really good to see that about young players nowadays. But yeah.
Anyways, but on the topic of just finishing off how the game really went, Italy, I'd say well-deserving champions. They become the first champion to win two or multiple games on penalty shootouts. No team has ever done that. That's won the tournament. They won the semifinal versus Spain and the final versus England. And I guess a lot of that can be credited to a certain goalkeeper that I won't really mention by name. How do you guys feel about him being player of the tournament or awarded that? Because I think, honestly, and if he played for my club, I promise you this will be the exact same opinion. I believe that's the most undeserving award I've seen in my life.
Really?
Your wife?
If we're going based on only 5 players on Italy that would deserve over him, I already have 5 on Italy alone. Let's not talk about England, France. Even though France went out early, I think Pogba had a fantastic tournament.
Yeah.
I think, even players on Denmark that could potentially be in that mold.
But what about Italy? Who are your players on Italy that you would give it to over Donnarumma?
The 5 players I pick ahead of Donnarumma oh my God, I said his name. That's the boogeyman. Ahead of him, I pick Spinazzola, number 1.
100%.
Ahead of him. I think Chiellini had a better tournament than him. Verratti, Chiesa, and I think Barella had a better tournament.
Wow, you said Chiesa. Holy smokes. Yeah, you know what? I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad at it. I don't mind him getting the award. I think good for him. When you look at the penalties, him and I guess maybe it's just because those teams had the most like penalty shootouts. But him and Jan Sommer for Switzerland, are amazing keepers. Like I knew about Jan Sommer, obviously on Gladbach, all that kind of stuff. But if you look at their penalties, like they're diving the right way, even whether or not they save it or not, they're diving the right way.
Right on Harry Kane's pen, like he just nearly got to it.
Yeah, so it's impressive to me that you have such quick reaction time and all that kind of stuff. Donnarumma, I'm pretty sure he's got that. I don't think it's a record or anything like that, but he hasn't conceded more than 1 goal per game. When he's a goalkeeper for Italy, which I think is pretty crazy. And obviously it still technically stood true for the penalty shootout because it was just 1 goal in regulation time. But yeah, I'm not mad at him getting player of the tournament, but You're not wrong with that list. Spinazzola, I think, probably would have got it if he didn't get injured. He had a crazy standout tournament.
But I don't know as well, because I think he really got it because he saved them in the penalty shootout. Like, it was more like a finals MVP kind of award than it was player. Yeah. Because in my opinion, I don't think he was tested that much. He had a few, big saves throughout the tournament. I remember against Belgium, he had a massive save on a De Bruyne shot. But other than that, I don't feel he was actually tested that much throughout the tournament. Jan Sommer, for me, much more tested, much more deserved. If we were going to give it to a goalkeeper, that's a player of the tournament that I would give, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he went out early, but that's like a goalkeeper that deserved player of the tournament. Yeah, he came up big in the penalties, and I respect it. But the thing is, me personally, I know he's good at penalty saves, right? That's his bread and butter, right? Coming into the cursed penalty shootout against Rio Ave earlier on the season, he was at 80% saved penalties. Do you know how crazy that is to save 80% of the penalty shot at you? You face the likes of Belotti, Ronaldo, Dybala, all these kind of players in Italy, Lukaku, and you saved 80% of the penalty shot at you. That's unbelievable. And Milan concedes a lot of penalties. We play Juventus a lot. We concede a lot of penalties, right? So that's why, me personally, I think it was a very undeserving. I don't know, Bone, what do you think?
Oh, here we go again. I'll cut that out. Yeah, Milan, in terms of player of the tournament, I think you give it to Donnarumma just because he stepped up in the biggest moment. He made the tournament winning save. I believe he only conceded 3 goals all tournament, to Austria in the semifinal, to Spain, and then to England, obviously, in the final. But obviously that's, as you said, he wasn't tested that much. That's a big testament to the defenders in front of him. In terms of player of the tournament, for me, I just go Chiesa, just because he didn't score in the final, but he was phenomenal in that game. I feel he scored in the semifinal. I believe he scored against Austria as well. Like, he was scoring in almost all the knockout games. So he was great. But yeah, I'd give it to Chiesa, but I don't see how it's a travesty that Donnarumma got it either.
Did you guys see just recently? I think it was just this morning. Chelsea offered 100 million to Juventus for Chiesa.
I actually saw it on your social media, but I don't believe it. But the thing is, I don't think he's not worth 100 million when you see the price of some other players when they have an English passport, right?
You think so? 100 million is steep.
Because if his name was Frederick Church, he's worth 200 million, right?
Yeah.
Because his name's not Phil Foden, it's like, why is he really worth 100 million? But if he was Phil Foden, you go, oh yeah, but he plays for City, but he's English. All of a sudden, you give the benefit of the doubt there, and I don't think that's really deserving. I think 100 million, it's considering this market, considering how inflated this market has been over the years. I mean, we saw Neymar go for 220 million. Is he deserving of it? 100%. But players being worth over 100 million is mind-boggling, right?
I just think from the perspective that, okay, Jadon Sancho came to United for 90 mil with add-ons and everything, and we're saying Chiesa's 100. I don't think there's that much. I actually say
that was a little bit of negotiation, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, wait, for Chiesa or for Sancho?
For Sancho, because we know Chelsea has the money. They don't have to negotiate. They'll just spend, right?
Yeah.
That's how Chelsea's been forever. When you have Roman Abramovich giving you oil money, you're fine.
Yeah, that's true.
But on the topic of that, just a quick transfer update that today, Fabrizio Romano reported that Griezmann and Saul have both given their clubs the green light in the last few hours in terms of a swap deal that will help Barca balance the books. So Saul would be going to Barcelona, with Griezmann going to back to Atletico Madrid, back to his roots. How do you guys feel about that?
I love it. I never really wanted Griezmann to leave Atletico. I feel like he fits that style of play so perfectly. Like, he embodies what a forward is supposed to be for Atletico. Obviously, Diego Simeone being there completely changed the culture and just made it so that literally everyone will defend. And you can see, even saw it in this Euros, 86th minute, Griezmann's running down guys on Germany, slide tackles, everything. Like, I love his game so much. I'd love to see him back on Atletico, especially now that he's got guys like Joao Felix. He's got Luis Suarez for however much longer he's willing to stay there. If he goes back, I think they have a very big chance of really challenging to win Liga again.
Interesting.
I think it would be crazy to see him go back, considering he burned his bridges pretty badly there with the whole decision. I believe it was on Netflix or some kind of video to
Yeah.
announce he was staying, and then did another one the next year to announce he's leaving. So I don't know how well he would go over in the red and white portion of Madrid. But yeah, as you mentioned, Skylar, I think he would definitely add a totally new force. I mean, he'd slide right back into that starting 11. But I think the big issue there is like the wages. Like, how would Barcelona, like, how would they offload those wages? So it'd be a tough negotiation process, and I wouldn't want to be the Barcelona board negotiating that transfer whatsoever.
They're such a mess right now. Like, even getting rid of Antoine Griezmann, you're still not close to balancing your books. Like, I don't even know, how did you even get, like, okay, you bought Philippe Coutinho for how much? 120 mil?
Yep.
Something like that. And now you're willing to sell him for 20 to 30 mil. Like, this is the type of business that has gotten you guys in this position. Oh my God. Yeah.
And yeah, they wasted the Neymar funds entirely. I believe Dembele was about 80. Griezmann went for a lot. It's a mess. But do you guys think, quickly on this, do you guys think Barca is going to get out of this kind of scot-free, or are they gonna go through some issues in the next coming years?
I think they'll go through some issues, personally.
I think clubs like Barcelona just get saved eventually. I think, I think somehow, some way they'll make it through. At the end of the day, Messi's still going to re-sign a 5-year deal, which I read that he's going to cut his wages massively.
5 years?
Yeah, I read that he's signing a 5-year deal.
How old is he now? 34?
Yeah, so he'd most likely be retiring there. And he's cutting his wages massively. So when you have a player like Leo Messi there, like, you're making money no matter what, right? And
That's true.
Even without him, you're Barcelona. You're still going to be making money because Spanish football is the biggest attraction. La Liga just was given TSN was just given rights to La Liga, so a lot more viewership for the Spanish side of football in Canada and the US. So it's I don't think they'll get out scot-free per se, but I think they'll be fine. I think that's the best way to put it.
Seeing as we have about 4 minutes left in this recording, do you want to any more thoughts on any football stuff, or do we want to get to Que Jugador?
Let's do Que Jugador.
All right. Do you want to go first, Milan?
Yeah, just quickly, Skyler, do you kind of know what Que Jugador would be like?
I'm assuming it's your standout players.
Or more so just someone that's done something throughout the week that, like, you want to give a quick shout out to, like
any
like
sport?
what a player, anything, literally anything.
Okay.
I'd say my Que Jugador, last week I had Kasper Schmeichel for Has It Ever Came Home. This week I'll put in Bonucci, because Bonucci went to the microphone and he goes, "It's coming to Rome. Yeah. It's coming to Rome." And he finally shut up those guys that kept yelling, "It's coming home." You let him know. So, I would never give a Juve player a Que Jugador, but I guess today's the day.
Holy smokes.
Especially a rat like Bonucci, but that's besides the point. Racist rat, but whatever.
Oh, shit.
Anyways.
Bowen, you can.
Yeah, I'm going to go Messi, just based off what he achieved over the weekend, winning the Copa America, and, I respect this a lot, taking a pay cut to, end his career at Barcelona. So pretty solid week for him, you'd have to say.
A Ballon d'Or, a Copa America, and a Que Jugador. This guy is living life this year.
Honestly, I actually probably would have went for Donnarumma, because he put on his story too. Actually, I think, Milan, you sent me that story.
That one was funny. That one was funny.
Yeah, him saying it's coming home. But I don't know. I might have to switch it to. I don't even know if this counts. RDC World 1?
Yeah.
Shout out to Supreme Dreams. Shout out to Mark Phillips, man. They met J. Cole, I think earlier this week. No, not this week. Was it earlier this week?
Yeah.
Holy smoke. Yeah. So you met J. Cole earlier this week. Met LeBron James yesterday for the Space Jam premiere. Those guys, I've been a fan of them 36. For years. Yeah. I've been a fan of those guys for years. Back when it was like just the stuff out of their, I mean, I guess still it is still technically in their house, the stuff they film. I like it because like their videos, it's very relatable. You know what I mean? It's very genuine. It's very genuine. Yeah, it's like low budget sort of.
I was watching their Naruto tournament.
Yeah. Like there was like an Avengers battle royale thing they did before. So definitely them. That's my Que Jugador.
I like that. I like that. All right. I think considering the time restraints that we have due to Zoom, I think Bowen, this is our chance to wrap it up and give a quick shout out to Skyler.
Yeah, Skyler, you got the floor. Do you want to shout any platform, any social media? Go ahead.
Just thank you guys for having me so much. I appreciate it. I'll try to make this quick, but everyone just go check out the podcast. I have it on Instagram. I got next podcast _ by Skyler Gonzales, obviously by me. But
And
yeah, thank you
I'll
guys for
link that
having
in
me.
the description. I'll link that in the description.
Thank you very much.
Well, for Bowen, Milan, and Skyler, this has been another episode of Slightly Biased Sports Talks. Again, Skyler, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. First guest, of course. So, yeah, guys, any more, any last thoughts, or we good to close it out?
We're good to close it out.
Well, thanks everybody for all the support on the show. We appreciate it as always, and we'll be back within the next week. Until next time, take it easy. Out of here.
Later.